This week on Married to Medicine.
That wasn't cool because we were people.
You know what wasn't cool? Y'all not supporting the cause. Because the reality is, none of that could have happened had y'all just, or you or your wife, bought a ticket.
Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome back. Today we're going to be recapping the new episode of Married to Medicine, Season 12, Episode 14. Let's get right into this. Alright, you guys, let's get into this episode, which was the season finale. Married to Medicine is known to have shorter seasons, which, you know what, I actually don't mind, because that usually means that there's less filler episodes and usually, you know, better episodes, because they tend to have more drama. So this final episode definitely had lots of drama, so let's get right into this. So the beginning of the episode is Jackie and Simone. They're on their lunch break and they are about to debrief on all the drama and all the tea. This really felt like old times, just the two of them. So Jackie says that she's been so busy after the trip. Simone says that Toya and Eugene did a great job hosting the trip. She says, now we did something very differently that last night. Us women and the man, we separated. So I was talking to Cecile and asked him what was going on. And he told me that your husband gave King the business and told him that maybe he and Quad, the reason they were not having a baby was because they're doing things out of order, like out of God's commands for their household. And Jackie says, well, I didn't know about any of that until I heard Curtis and Steve talking about it on the airport. And I told him he was wrong because he and I, we were not out of order and we still didn't get pregnant. So she says that she explained it to Curtis. Simone says, have you thought about the way you're going to approach Quad and talk to her the next time you see her? Jackie says, well, you know, I did text her right away and told her that I apologize, and so did Curtis. And Simone says, well, okay, that's good, but you know how Quad is. You know, she is not very forgiving and she can definitely, you know, take something and hold on to it for a long time. But there's more drama. So Jackie says that the group chat was blowing up. It was like over 100 text messages all over the Met Gala. Jackie says that she warned Toya that naming herself and Jackie as the only two founders was going to cause problems. And listen, yeah, I love Toya. Toya literally went on the website they created and just put up a picture of her and Jackie as the co-founders. She is a mess. But yeah, she took it down after the backlash. She added the other ladies. Toya didn't want to add Mimi, Brandi, and Angel, which is understandable because they're new. They were not going to, you know, cooperate the same amount of money as the other ones were. But Toya, even though she wasn't including them, she still wanted them to donate. Now, on that, I am going to have to disagree with Toya because that's not really logical. Like, it makes sense why they wouldn't be part of the actual event as, like, actual planners, and they're going to contribute via ticket sales because they need a ticket to get in. But as far as for the event, I don't see, if you're not going to include them in anything and they're not going to be like giving credit for it, then they shouldn't have to pay the same as you all. That's what I think. Simone says that Toya really fumbled it because had Toya done things right, she could have easily had secured Steve and Mimi's contribution, because last year they contributed $5,000 and now they're not going to give anything. So then the scene ends with Jackie saying that she just hopes that everything goes well. So speaking of Steve and Mimi, we head over to their house. She's cooking dinner, and they are really excited because they are building a new home. It's going to have 5 bedrooms and 8,500 square feet. Wow, that's a really big house. They're calling it their dream home. They also talk about schooling for Stevie. They have put him in speech therapy, and they've seen some great improvements in his behavior. His relationship with his sister is also improving. They can now easily go to the grocery store with him, and they're seeing some really positive results. Mimi wants to put him in sports. They're thinking of putting him in just typical sports. And, you know, little Stevie has great parents. And even though I have my issues with Steve and Mimi in the group, which we're going to get into, they are great parents. Can't take that away from him. They have a great marriage, and they really are an example when it comes to being a married couple and being parents. Alright, so it is 48 hours before the Met Gala. We see the entire Bush Harris family working. They're taking out boxes and things like that. Eugene finally has a real office space. It's big, not like that small space that Contessa was offering them. And it was really nice. They showed it. I liked it. It was, like I said, it's big and it's also close to their home. So they are really happy with the space that they got. Now, Toya's a bit on the edge. She's a little bossy today. She's telling Eugene, like, don't do this, don't do that. And he's like, calm down. And Toya's like, listen, I've been up since 7 a.m. planning this Met Gala, talking to all these women. She says, I've been trying to work with them, but I continue to be met with disrespect. I've been cursed at. I keep getting shut down, which is true. You know, we saw it at the Jamaica trip. We saw what it was like when she was trying to talk to the group about the event. A particular person was just cussing up a storm. So I do believe that. Toya says that her plan was for all of the money that was collected via ticket sales to be used for scholarships. And I think that's great. That's a great mission. But she says that no one is being supportive. Toya says none of them have offered help. Matter of fact, Mimi was sending text messages in the group chat talking about her experience in being part of scholarships and organizations for over 10 years, yet she didn't offer any help. So then we see Heavenly FaceTiming Mimi, and you can guess what they're doing. Trash talking Toya and the Met Gala. So they keep referring to this damn group chat, which now I want to see these messages. I want to read them because there's like it's hundreds and hundreds of them. So Mimi says to Heavenly, why doesn't Toya have a board meeting, voting board members to vote on the budget, subcommittees, finance, event committees? Now, I agree with her to a certain extent. She's got a point on that. But honestly, I blame Jackie too. Because this is really her thing, and this is the third Met Gala. Why is it still so unorganized? Heavenly says, I have a problem with the leadership, and Mimi says, me too. So I think, to be fair, I think many things can be true at the same time. Yes, Toya should have done a better job as the organizer. She could have definitely done better. But these women could have definitely made it easier for her by not making it harder by being disrespectful. So then we move on to the Whitmore household. Simone, Cecile, Michael, and Miles. They're over to someone in Cecile's house. They're having dinner. And the boys say, we're going to sit in different seats this time because we don't want a repeat of what happened last time we sat here in these seats. And then Simone says, well, speaking of that last time y'all were here, I want to apologize for what I said. And I was like, really, Simone, you're going to apologize? But she says, I apologize for cursing, but I felt very disrespected by Michael. So Michael says, yeah, and I'm sorry too. And, I do want to make something of my life. I do want to have a lot of money. And me and Miles, we got to lock in, bro. Like, we got to lock in. I don't think it's going to change that much. But on a positive note, I do love how the four of them can have lots of fun together as a family. And then Miles does say to Simone, I do appreciate you and how much you work. So it was a positive scene, I guess. So then it is the next day, and it's the day of the Met Gala. Toya and Eugene go to the venue early, obviously. And I got to say, when they walked in, I was not impressed. I was like, this looks like an event that one of them could have just easily done for like a simple party or something. Toya says that she is really proud because they sold $10,000 worth of tickets to give to the scholarships. And I'm going to be honest and say it again. I'm not impressed. Given the platform that these ladies have, I think they could have done better. I really do. These are women who have huge platforms and a huge presence. I think they could have done better. And this is Atlanta we're talking about. It's the mecca of doctors and entertainers and professionals. Like, I think they could have done much better than $10,000. So kind of the way it worked, Toya explains that the core ladies, her, Jackie, Simone, Heavenly Quad, and Contessa, they paid $2,500 each. Now that money was to go, it went to the actual event, like to put the event together. Brandi and Angel, they didn't contribute that, but they did buy tickets to go to the event. But she says Mimi and Steve did nothing. And Toya said she almost thought of calling Phaedra. Y'all remember last year when Phaedra literally gave them $35,000. Wow. Even saying it now, I can't believe she gave that much. $35,000. Wow. I love Phaedra. So then we head over to Contessa's house real quick. And Contessa is so smart. And I think her brain it's really occupied. It's occupied, busy, thinking and working, that I think it might not have enough time to make her think of how to dress, because she always looks so bad with her. She never pulls out a good outfit, and she's so beautiful. So her and Scott are talking, and she says to him, did you know that in less than 24 hours prior to the event, we are just now finding out where it's going to be at? Contestant says, I'm very stressed about this event. We asked questions, we got no information, and all we were told was to give money. Toya wanted to put her stamp of, that she did this on everything on this event, and just wanted us to be minions, just contributed money. Okay. Now you see, Toya, this makes it sound different. This is another side to it. That kind of changes things. So like I said, this is what I'm saying. There's fault in everyone, I think. Toya could have done better. She definitely could have. Okay, so it's been some hours and the guests begin to arrive. Now, I will say the place looked much better once people began to arrive, because the room had started to fill up, and the theme of the Met Gala was living art. So there was a great artist whose job was being showcased. So there was a bunch of art all over the place, and I love art, so I thought it was super cool. I liked Eugene's suit jacket. It matched the occasion for sure. Something that was really positive as far as the venue is that it was really big, so there was a lot of space. It was really spacious, which is really important. And yeah, people begin to arrive little by little, and then Mimi and Steve arrive, y'all. Oh my gosh. So they're standing in the front door, and the girl who was doing the check-ins asks, hey, do y'all have your barcode on your phone that I can scan for you guys to enter? And Mimi's like, oh, no, we're special guests of Jackie Walters. And the girl is like, okay, let me check. So she goes and grabs Eugene. And y'all, I was hollering watching this. Eugene says, hey, so are y'all gonna buy a ticket? And then Mimi's like, huh? Well, we're sitting at Jackie's table. And Eugene says, oh, no, the tables are, for the people who contributed to the event. Yeah, they have their tables, but the tickets are for the students. It's $150 per ticket. That's what you have to pay to come into the event. And then Steve's like, are you aware that we paid $5,000 last year? And Eugene says, yeah, that was last year. Steve says, well, do you want a donation or do you want ticket money? Which is it? And Eugene's like, a ticket, because you have to pay to come into the event. So they do. They eventually pay the ticket to get in, but they were mad. But I'm glad they were being called out, because why did y'all think y'all were not going to buy a ticket? Now, they claim they didn't know. So then everyone else begins to get there. Heavenly and Damon make it. They're not on theme. Matter of fact, a lot of the people did not follow the theme, which sucks. I like a theme. Quad came in with a friend because King was at a wedding, but she said that he'll be here a little later. So then, it's time is going by. Everyone's socializing. And then at one point, Steve goes to Eugene and says, hey, man, I really didn't like how that played out a while ago. Us being singled out over this ticket. And y'all, I gotta give it up to Eugene. Tonight are the Oscars, and I would like to give the award to Best Supportive Husband goes to Eugene Harris. He says to Steve, yeah, there's a lot of confusion going on, but you know where that came from? Where did it come from? Because Toya was trying to explain to everyone how everything was going to work back at Jamaica, but she kept getting cut off. The leadership was not able to disseminate the information. So then Toya approaches and she says to Steve, wait a minute, you're saying you feel like you were singled out? And Steve says, yes, and it's not cool. Toya says, it's not cool? Y'all not supporting the cause. Your wife could have bought a ticket. She listened to everything I said, and she still said that y'all were out. And Steve's like, well, I don't address women. I talk to men. Okay. So Toya is like, well, take that to the back then. Listen, I'm from a new generation, okay? We believe in equal rights. We will address everybody. So in her confessional, Toya was killing me, y'all. She says, the outfits that he wears, Steven, if they're authentic, are easily $5,000 each that he wears daily. So he can't pay $300 worth of tickets. So then Mimi joins, and Steve says, well, we were going to come in here, and we were actually going to buy art. We were going to give more than just $300. Some people can't even buy the art, but others can buy the whole wall of art. But that's what we were planning on doing. Toya says, no one can come through this door unless they had bought a ticket. Mimi says, well, that's not true, because I've talked to some other ladies, like Brandi. And Toya says, oh, Brandi? Yeah, Brandi bought her ticket today. She bought it. Simone bought 10 tickets. So they were not letting go of the mouse. They were not letting Mimi and Steve off the hook for not buying their tickets on time. But you know what? Mimi and Steve were really, really pissed. So it's a little later, and King makes it. So King, Quad, Jackie, and Curtis get together real quick, and Curtis apologizes for offending them. Jackie also apologizes, and Curtis says, I want nothing but the best for you guys. And King's like, yeah, I know. That's why I was caught a little off guard that my brother was attacking me. And then here goes Curtis, ruining the apology. Well, it wasn't an attack. We all just have different beliefs, and we have a specific way we go about it. And I'm just like, Curtis, shut up. You did good on your apology. You could just ended it there. Okay? It's not that hard. So then Jackie and Toya take the stage, and they present 2 scholarships to 2 Met students. The ladies who received them were so grateful, so that was really nice to see. And it's something positive that came out of all of this. And like one of the ladies said, sure, it's not $100,000. It was only a $5,000 scholarship. But you know what? That goes a long way when you're a student. It really, really does. So everything is going great. They presented the scholarships. People are happy, thankful. Then Heavenly wants to say a few words. People were a little nervous, but she didn't say anything negative. Matter of fact, she said that Toya did a great job, so that was nice. And, when Toya and Eugene finished, I know that when Toya and Eugene first came to the event, I said I wasn't that impressed, but towards the end of it, when I saw it come together, I think Toya did do a great job. As far as the event itself, it was nice, and Eugene gave Toya some flowers, so it was a great ending. They end by dancing. I did love that Michael was there, and he went up to Simone, and he was like, I didn't speak to you-know-who. He was talking about heaven, and I get it, because I'm not going to talk to somebody who's being mean to my mother. So everybody is dancing. Now, Quad did go up to King and say, you want to come dance with me? And he was like, no. So, which clearly a foreshadowing of the end of that relationship. And that was the end of the episode. Now, this was a finale. Toya and Eugene, thank you so much for this finale. We got the trailer for the reunion. I am so ready for this reunion. I am seated. That trailer looks so impressive. They really outdo themselves on this show. It's great. But I will say, the trailer, it looked like it's going to be Eugene and Toya versus everybody, which I'm going to defend them. I really am. And Simone. I am team Toya, Simone, and Eugene all day, every day. But y'all, let me know what your thoughts were about this episode. What did you think of Steve and Mimi? Do you think that Toya and Eugene were trying to single them out? Did they have a right to? Were they wrong? Let me know your thoughts. Even if you disagree, I would love to hear your perspective. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch y'all next time. Y'all have a great one.